right. Okay, so we have Miss Tyionna here, and I want to ask you a little bit about Emily and her character. Tell me about like how she fell in love with the love interest who ends up being her abuser, and tell me a little about that storyline and that dynamic.
Emily is an innocent girl, just, bubbly, life of
Okay.
the party. So she fell in love with a charmer. And, behind closed door was something different. And she
Oh,
didn't know
okay,
that,
yeah.
so it was kind of, too late and she was already in love.
You know,
So,
a lot of girls are dealing with that. Like, he's very different behind closed doors, or, their family are seeing some red flags, but they fail to see it because of that intimate, private moment. And, like, being someone who had to play Emily and being that you were in her shoes, what is something you can say about the feeling of being with someone that, is kind of a different way with you privately than they are publicly? What would you say?
honestly, even to play this role, I watched a lot of movies, like, enough, or things like that, depicted domestic violence. So it was hard for me to tap into that because
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite. I probably wouldn't take that, So to try to play that role, it was really hard because I do know people that experience that. So for me to have
Right.
to tap into it is like me trying to step into
You
their
just
shoes.
yeah,
So
okay.
it was a lot, but, it is real. So I'm happy to be able to play a part and to bring this cause for this awareness.
I love that. And I love that you said you had to tap into their shoes. So this is something very new for you because you're completely already opposite, which is good. We love that. We love a self-aware queen. But, let's just say there's that average person in their 30s that is that Emily out there. What is something that you would like to say to them? Or, what's a word of encouragement that you would like to give to them? If you could, like, look back and say, here, let me tell you something.
Yes, first it says you better look in that mirror and tell yourself you got this because you do.
That part.
You don't need to settle for less. You love yourself and that's all that matters.
And that's good. So I kind of want to introduce your love interest right now as well. Nope, stay right here. Okay. Okay. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
What is your name?
My name is Dorian Herring.
Dorian Heron. Nice to meet you. I'm a jockey. Tell me, who do you play?
I play Ryan.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your character, Ryan.
Ryan's an interesting guy.
Okay.
I don't want to give too much away, but Ryan's definitely an interesting guy. And I think we just see him dealing with some stuff that is off screen that manifests itself on screen.
And by on screen, you mean the abuse and the domestic violence and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so how do you feel like he played any type of manipulative role on Emily? And why her, would you say?
I think that those are like the deeper questions that really draw you closer to the person that you're playing, right? A lot of people feel like abuse is something that's so far away from them, but really it comes down to self-maintenance, right? Ryan was someone who didn't deal with things that were bothering him in his personal, and he took it out on Emily because she was
Sorry, Emily.
the closest thing to him, right? So when he couldn't beat himself up about it, he lashed out at her. So a lot of that behind the scenes stuff isn't on film.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important message.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you for that perspective. And I got Grandma here too. So Grandma, you witnessed a little bit of this dynamic and the abuse itself. So being your person and your character and the role that you play in general, right? What would you say about the two dynamics?
As far as the domestic violence?
Yes.
Well, they started out a lovely couple, and Grandma believed that, she really loved him, and whatever was going on, she trusted and thought that it was a solid and good relationship. But then she started seeing the signs, but then her granddaughter didn't reveal anything to her, so there's nothing she could say or do.
Okay.
She kept reaching out, but...
Okay. Would you say that the couple kind of pulled a wool over Grandma's eye and Grandma didn't really notice? Because you said you had a little bit of intuitive feeling, and you also said something about signs.
At first, I didn't know, but then later on when you start seeing the signs, they say grandmothers have that discernment, that intuition. They know something is going on when their, loved ones and ones that are really close to them, start backing away and keeping things to themselves and being very, nonchalant, and she picked up on it.
Okay.
But it was too late.
Tell us a little. Oh, it was too late. Oh, okay. Grandma
And
gave
that
us a little bit of a
can't give
spoiler.
any more, yes.
Not too much
Yes.
more. Thank
Can't
you
give
so
any more.
much. I
In the
love
meantime,
that.
go.
I'm excited. Thank you so much. Thank you.